What up everybody, it's Charlie and I'm back. So in this video, I want to just kind of tell a little bit of my story of how I have transitioned basically from when I was a teenager to now. So let's get started. I should also say that I took notes to make this video, so I will be looking at those every so often just to make sure I'm on track. But yeah, to start off with my teen years, it's funny because there's not much to say, actually. My teen years were miserable. They were some of the worst years of my life, but I think it's important to start here because it set the foundation for where I am today. At the time of my youth, I guess, I basically decided that this would be the last miserable point of my life, and that my adulthood was going to be so much better than my life as a child. And so that was kind of the foundation that I was going into everything with, that I will make my life better no matter what it takes. I think before that, I was kind of a more go with the flow type person. That's kind of how I ended up at a Christian college that ultimately ended up kicking me out for being gay. Or I guess they didn't kick me out, but they made it so I could not live on campus anymore. So I had to leave, and it was the first time that I realized that people aren't always going to be happy with the decisions that I make for me, that people aren't always going to be cheering for me, that people aren't always on my side, even when it is stuff that is in my best interest. And so that was the first time I had to kind of step back and realize it is up to me. I'm the one who has to take control of my life. I'm the one who has to ensure that I'm happy. I'm the one who has to make sure that the day to day that I'm living is what I want for myself. And so I came up with these two things that I always want to stick to is, am I being who I am, and am I being who I want to be in the world? And at the time I realized that I wanted to be gay, and that was already part of me, but I wanted to actually live that life out in the open. And that's its own story, and I'm going to get into that probably in another video. But there was another thing that kind of was nagging at me and kind of in the back of my head, and it was that I didn't want boobs, that I really, really wanted to get top surgery. And I didn't really know why. I mean, at the time, I still identified as a woman. And so it was weird for me, actually, because I was doing all of this research into top surgery and living without boobs. And I was finding that most of it was just trans related. Most of it was trans people talking to each other, talking to health people or different stuff like that, and I didn't really find where I fit. So for a while I started to try, of course, non-surgical methods. I wore a binder, and that was kind of my first introduction to changing my body to make myself feel better, to pursue my pleasure in how I look. I remember my first binder was like one of the happiest days of my life, and I wish I had brought it, but I have a picture somewhere, I'll see if I can find it, of me when I got my first binder and just how proud and happy that I looked. So after wearing binders for a while, I realized that yes, indeed, I did not want boobs, and that was something that I was pretty adamant about. So I started to look into research of how to pay for top surgery. Ultimately, because I was not out as trans, I couldn't get my insurance to cover it through trans healthcare. So I just took out a loan and moved forward to getting surgery through a plastic surgeon that way. I would say that was one of the best decisions, and really the first major decision that I ever made for myself. Something that no one really believed in me about, no one supported me in, but it was something that I wanted to do for me, and it made me happy, and it's a decision that I never I'll never want to take back, because it was such a foundational decision for me in moving forward with my life, and answering those questions of, am I being who I am? And without boobs, I felt like this is who I am. I also felt like, am I being who I want to be in the world? And that was kind of a trickier question for me. Yes, I was being who I wanted to be in the world, but for some reason the world wasn't perceiving me in the way that I wanted to be. So the weirdest thing about me getting top surgery is that nobody noticed. I didn't tell my mom or anyone in my family before I got it done. I just told friends and friends and chosen family, and they are the ones who helps to take care of me after surgery. But my mom and my brother and my extended family all didn't know about it. And so it was weird to come back from that and for me to feel such a big relief and such a weight off my chest when nobody noticed. And that's what really got me thinking about testosterone and realizing that it wasn't just about me feeling better in myself. I wanted to be able to show up in the world how I wanted to be perceived. And so I reached out to my primary care physician, and they helped me to get onto testosterone. And testosterone was such a weird thing because it's a really slow moving substance. It really takes 1 to 5 years to be able to realize its full effects. Right now, I've been on testosterone for 6 years, so this is a fully realized trans. But the slowness was something that was really hard for me. I think in the very beginning, I was really just frustrated with how slow the changes were, so I decided to just scrap everything and not pay attention to it for the first year. I'll just keep taking my shots and keep taking my shots and just see how it goes. And so after that first year, I looked at myself again and realized that I was happy and that I liked the things that were happening to me and the changes as they were moving along. And so I chose to keep going on testosterone. And like I said, I am still on testosterone today. Some of the main changes that happen on testosterone is first, your menstruation stops, so you stop getting periods. And that was something that was really appealing to me because I had PCOS, and so I really had bad periods. I've been in the hospital for them a few times and different things like that, and they were just terrible. And so to not have menstruation was really important for me. The next one is facial and body hair growth. The majority of that happens in the first 3 to 5 years. And I keep getting hairier and hairier and hairier. And the longer I'm on T, the more hairier I've gotten. But the one thing to watch is that testosterone can also cause male pattern baldness. So the key is kind of to look around at the people in your family and see what kind of hair they have, the men in particular of your family, and see kind of what hair they have. The next thing that happened is body fat redistributes. So that's another thing that happens in the kind of last couple of years. But you kind of get like a sleeker look. in general. I don't know. I've never quite understood that one, but it happens, I guess. So fat redistributes. Your next one is muscle mass and strength increases. That's something that I didn't expect and I haven't really taken advantage of. So I don't work out. I don't do a lot of things. There's some maintenance stuff that I do. Like I'll do push-ups every once in a while or things like that. But I am naturally stronger even without working out at all than I was before pre-T. So that's something that is a big difference. On top of that, your clit grows. And so that's just another little change that happened, or little, it's a change that happens. That is kind of interesting. Of all of those, the ones that stay after you stop testosterone is your voice will stay deep, any facial hair that you have or any body hair that grows will stay. Your clitoris will stay the same size, but everything else goes away if you stop taking testosterone. So your body fat would go back to more of a feminine appearance, and you would lose any muscle mass or strength increases. And that's something that's interesting because I've actually been thinking about it lately, going off testosterone, because I've kind of reached the peak. Like I said, I'm a fully realized testosterone user, I guess. And so I'm trying to think of like what would be the benefits of staying on testosterone. And so I've been thinking about what things stay and what things go and kind of what is important for me. Another tip that I would recommend is kind of to document yourself. Like I said before, the process of being on testosterone is really slow. So to kind of give yourself motivation as you go, take pictures or video or something like that, just to kind of like dial in so you can see the changes. Because I think for me, I couldn't see them, and so it was hard to believe that they were there, and that got frustrating. And so yeah, try to document it. And it's also fun to kind of go back and see what things were like before, because you just never get that time again. So a few years after that, I started to want something else. It was kind of weird because like I identify as non-binary, and so for me this whole process has been kind of weird because so much of it is focused on like being a man and like testosterone is so manly and all of these things, and I don't identify that way. I am not a man or a woman. I'm non-binary, and that is how I've identified consistently. So it's been weird for me to go through all of these different things and have them so coded male when I more identify with masculine. And I think that's something that I just had to think through and work through in myself, is the difference between something that's male or something that like identifies with men and something that is just masculine, and that's kind of up for grabs for anyone. All that to say, I'm not basically I did a bunch of research after that and realized that I wanted to get bottom surgery. So like with top surgery, I did non-surgical methods first. I wore a packer and tried different packers and different ways for me to kind of get that feeling of having something in my pants. And eventually I realized that was something I wanted on a more permanent basis. So I worked with my insurance to be able to get bottom surgery. It's interesting because when you hear about bottom surgery, people always call it like the surgery. Have you gotten the surgery? And the truth is that there's so many options that fall under bottom surgery. There's so many things that you can do, or changes that you can make, or options. Just like there's just plenty of things that you can do with your that science is able to do. And so there isn't just one clear-cut path. What I would recommend people do is to really isolate what you want. For me, it was important to have something that was cosmetically accurate looking. I was not as much worried about functionality or anything like that. I just wanted to be able to like look down and see that there's something in my pants and like go from there. As a non-binary person, I thought it would be good for me to have kind of a variety of things. And so there were changes that I made and changes I didn't make. And I have other videos where I talk about that, but that's kind of the gist of how my bottom surgery went. Throughout all of my surgeries, I went through post-surgery depression. And that's something I always want to talk about and prepare people for, because it was something I didn't expect at all. And as I went through other surgeries, I started to prepare myself, and that made my situation so much better, because originally I, like I said, didn't see it coming, and so I was just super depressed and didn't know why. And it wasn't until I was able to go through that experience once or twice before I realized, okay, this is what it's going to be like for me. And so I can go ahead and make preparations and self-care and be in therapy and like really set myself up to succeed when it comes to post-surgery depression. There are a few tips that I want to say at the very end. The first one is do your research. For me, research was important throughout every step of this journey, and I got my research from a few different places. So first, I started off on YouTube, so welcome here, and that's where I got a lot of people's general experiences. I got a lot of informational stuff and different things like that. I also joined Facebook groups, and those helped me to get really specific questions answered. And it also helped me to see what other questions people were asking, and that would prompt me to ask questions and different things like that. So that was important for me. And the last one is to get on Instagram. And Instagram, you can see people's like real life stories. And I followed some trans tags, hashtags on there, and it really helped me to kind of normalize transness, and seeing trans people in my feed and seeing people that look like me. And that just really helped me to feel better and to feel more confident in who I am and in what I was doing with my transition. The next thing I would recommend is to take your time. Everyone's transition experience is different, and it can be slow or it can be fast, but overall, it is your story, and it is you being who you are in the world and showing up how you want to in the world. And there are a lot of different ways to do that, and they're all valid. And even if they are stepping stones, they're still valid. Or even if those are stopping points, they're still valid. Like, for example, if I could have stopped at being a woman who didn't want boobs, and that would be fine. That's a perfectly realistic identity, and so is who I am right now. And so just acknowledging those steps along the way and being the best possible me in those circumstances, no matter what I could afford or what I could do. So for example, even before I could get top surgery, I wore a binder. And that helped me to really live into being my whole self, but on a budget, basically. So that was cool. Same thing for wearing a packer and different things like that. And the last one, and the one that kind of brings it full circle to where I started, is that do what you need to do to be happy. At the end of the day, you're the one who is living this life. At the end of the day, you're the one who is going through your world. And so I just want to encourage you all to be who you are and to live that out and to try to be as happy as you can in life. And I hope this video helps you get there. So in the next one, I'm probably going to talk a little bit more about social transition and kind of what that was like for me. I, for some reason, skipped that section. So I'll talk about social transition next video. But see you then. Deuce.